What's up, YouTube? This is Just Doing Show. I am worn out. I didn't get to go into the room with the babies today, though. None of the kids, I had to go in and do all these questions and training, and paperwork, and tests, and I still, got all these things I still have to do yet. It's a process to get in. But this one part, I was, doing this training, and you have to take a test at the end, it's through the state. And so it gets to this part about emergency preparedness. I'm like, oh, I got this, I'm like, I'm used to that kind of stuff. And so I'm like reading it and going along, and there's this one part, and I never really thought of it this way before, but it says, the training part of it was explaining how if there's an earthquake here, so we don't really, we don't have tornadoes too much here. It's mostly earthquakes that we have to worry about, severe weather, windstorms. But it was asking about, what would you do in the event that you had to evacuate the kids you're with, because you could have to. You have, like, all these protocols of, what you would have to do. And so, like me, I'm taking this stuff serious. This is important, right? Because Shell's very proactive. And these are babies. These kids are counting on me to be serious. But then, also, I think it was like in the back of my head, because it says, you also have to have a plan in place with your own family, because you can't leave the kids you're with to go help your family. You have to, you got to take care of those kids. You can't just leave them. And I started laughing. I was laughing out loud because I have a pretty vivid imagination. And sometimes I just think stuff's funny that nobody else would think is funny. And I started laughing. This lady was in there, and I'm like, I just had this pretty vivid picture of this, what I would do, and she's like, oh yeah, what's the question? I'm like, yeah, it was, what are you gonna do if there's an emergency, and how are you gonna help your family? And I'm like, I'm gonna be strapping all these babies in on top of this Suburban up on two wheels, rolling to get my family too. Like, what you mean? Anyway, of course I wouldn't do that. But it was kind of funny to picture that. Needless to say, I'll be back in training tomorrow, you guys. Toodaloo.